Welcome to Families in the Millennium, where we seek to build faith in Jesus Christ through scriptures, the Come Follow Me program, and general conference talks. I'm Cindy. Welcome to Families in the Millennium. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, my dear friends, and if you're new to the channel, please know how much you are loved and we embrace you in friendship, and welcome here. Today, oh my goodness, this has been on my mind and heart for a long time, ever since hearing President Oaks's address in General Conference. And I am I feel so urgent to share this with you, and I'm excited. Can you tell? I can't even hardly talk. To share with you something that I'm going to be bringing to the channel to help by way of application and implementation of what President Oaks has counseled us. Because yes, he has issued an alert and an urgency about the family. And I want to go there now. In his address, as you know, called The Family-Centered Gospel of Jesus Christ, and you may have read this over and over again. There has been something in my mind that has been pressing upon me, and it's centered in this. Look at this news report. This is from Fox Weather, and it was published November 15th, 2025. The title is One Dead, 5-Year-Old Missing After Family Swept into Ocean in California. And it reports how the father tried to rescue his daughter, but the pair were swept out together with the father holding his daughter's hand. And I don't know, that chokes me up. And so when I come back here to President Oaks, he first starts off talking about and stating the truth. Quote, "The doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints centers on the family." And then he mentions also the temple and addresses that. But where I want to go with this, just a moment, he talks about the family proclamation announced 30 years ago, declaring that the family is ordained of God and is central to the Creator's plan. When I think of central, I think of a heart beating within the central cavity of the body. The family is the heartbeat of the Creator's plan. So is it any wonder how much Lucifer is doing everything to seek to topple the family, to destroy the family, whether it's immediate family or extended family? So let's move on. He talks about the societal influences that are countermanding parental influence. If you have ever been in a really bad storm and you're trying to drive, how hard is that? I remember living in Florida for a number of years, and the first time I'm driving on this highway and it's 55 miles an hour, but suddenly the rains just unleash and they are pouring down so hard that people on this highway, if you can imagine bumper to bumper traffic, were suddenly stopped. It is a parking lot on this highway for about 5 minutes because the rains are pouring so hard that you cannot see past your car. To me, this is the times in which we are living. After he speaks in such a tender way, with his emotions stirred up about the early death of his father and the difference that his grandfather made in his life, I thought of those who are grandparents and how much we need you. So this next part that he talks about, can you tell I'm just super excited to get to the end of this, but I want to share all of this as we get there. So he then says how Jesus Christ is our ultimate role model, that we will be blessed if we model our lives after his teachings and self-sacrifice. And then he starts building plank by plank the things that we need to be doing. And as I go through these, I thought this could start feeling overwhelming. And yet he used early in his talk how families are ordained. And that made me very curious. If you've been with the channel for any time at all, you know how much I love words. And so I just had to look this up. But as we look at being ordained, it can be an official investment with ministerial or priestly functions, often through a religious ceremony. But it also can mean being formally established, decreed, or appointed to a specific role or task by an authority. In this case, it is God who has ordained the family and who that is central to his plan. So if we have been formally established, decreed, and appointed to these specific roles and tasks that President Oaks delineates in his talk, that means God is on our side and we are going to be helped in these. So as I go through these, I hope none of us feel overwhelmed by them, because there's some really cool stuff at the very end. So we need to be following Christ. We need to be giving ourselves in service. We have a duty to teach offspring and our posterity, he says, practical knowledge, not just gospel principles. And I pause. Is this not historic times that we live in which a prophet is having to teach people to teach their children practical knowledge? When in the history of the world have parents not been allowed, or maybe have shirked their duty to teach their children practical knowledge? Yet that is happening now. That is how fierce the battle is against the family. He's talking about how families unite when they do meaningful things, that family gardens build family relationships. Isn't this unique that a prophet from the pulpit is needing, this is how austere the war is, needing to teach these things? Then he says, happy family experiences strengthen family ties. Can you see all interwoven throughout this, the dire nature of what we are experiencing right now? And yet, if perhaps we are distracted, even in the tiniest bit, we might not see how odd this is that a prophet is having to teach these basic fundamentals. That's how much we are under attack. It reminds me of being in that rainstorm so bad that we're stopped. We can't see. And so in society, is that not how it feels now? That things are assaulting these family principles so deeply, so hard, it's like we're stopped. And we're having to listen for direction because we can, in some ways, no longer see it. So again, he's saying parents have a duty to teach their children practical knowledge apart from gospel principles. And then he's helping us see that families unite when they do meaningful things together. We're going to talk about some of those things in just a moment. That's why I'm excited. And then he's even saying family gardens can help build family relationships. What a unique time that we're living in, that we need to be helped to understand these things. Happy family experiences strengthen family ties. I remember some years ago when I was born to a different faith, and I loved those faith traditions. I have such happy memories from them. Then the missionaries came in and taught my family when I was still living at home. And I remember being introduced to the restored gospel, the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and then learning about this thing called Family Home Evening. And then my parents are learning about Family Home Evening, and they didn't understand its purpose was to build happy family experiences. And I remember I began dreading Monday nights because Family Home Evening, from my parents' perspective, sweet parents, was to chastise the children for what we were not doing well. And my parents were simply, I believe, trying to solve family issues. So when President Oaks said, happy family experiences strengthen family ties, he then gives us some of those examples, camping and sports activities, etc. Then he says, families should organize family reunions to remember ancestors. So we're starting to get to almost what I'm going to share. Anyways, and then he again repeats, parents should educate children in the basic skills of living. Why does he need to repeat this again? He said just the paragraph prior to teach children practical knowledge. He says it again. Parents should educate children in the basic skills of living, including working in the yard and home. But notice he also said, happy family experiences strengthen family ties. So as we're seeking to apply these things, can we laugh while we're doing them, right? So that we're actually strengthening bonds. He talks about learning languages, but his whole point is this, that families flourish when learning as a group. Families flourish when they're counseling together. So he says, some may say we have no time for any of that. Well, then he gives a suggestion. And this goes back to if we don't listen to this, like sometimes we're so ready to just jump in when the prophet says to do something. And then there's other times where we're like, well, I don't know, that's kind of hard. I don't see how to do that yet. He says to find time to do what is truly worthwhile. Now remember, he said it's two-pronged. It's not just spiritual, it's these practical skills. Why is the prophet having to pound this in? What is coming where he is needing, with this little bit of space that we have time left, to teach our children and our grandchildren joyfully practical skills? Why is the prophet needing to ask that of us? Anyways, he says to find time to do what is truly worthwhile, many parents will find they can turn their family on if they all turn their technologies off. And I highlighted all on the screen because it starts with the adults. I've often thought if I could have a camera following me around, I think I would learn a lot about myself. And I just have to share one experience before we get to the final part. I had my first son after a number of years of waiting, and I thought that was the only son or only child we were going to be able to have. And I just poured my heart and everything that I had into that son. I so valued him. To our surprise, a number of years later, we were able to have a baby girl. And as I then was videotaping these memories that were so exciting, I could have sworn that I was taping them equally. I was recording both of them the same amount or pretty close to it. 2 years goes by, and we finally decide as a family to sit down and watch these family movies. Do you know what I discovered? For those first 2 years, every video I was saying to my son, my little, 4-year-old son, just a second, we'll videotape you. Right now, we're going to videotape, and then my daughter. Over and over and over again for almost 2 years, my little son, my oldest son, was hardly on camera, and I had no idea. And so I've often thought since then, had I not seen that on the video, all of those different recordings, I never would have understood just how imbalanced it was. So this sentence, to find time to do what is truly worthwhile, many parents will find that they could turn their family on if they all turn their technologies off, end quote. And it's so easy to think, well, of course the children need to. But if I had a video recording me for 7 days, all of my interactions, how much am I putting my phone down as I talk to my spouse, or as I talk to my children, or as I talk to my grandchildren? What might I learn? And if we can't model it ourselves, how can we expect our children to learn how to do that themselves? And then he says, and parents, remember what those children really want for dinner is time with you, end quote. And I suspect if you have grandchildren, that it's still the same. People simply want to be seen. And so President Oaks then says, great blessings come to families if they pray together, kneeling night and morning to offer thanks for blessings, to pray over common concerns. I interject. How do we know what common concerns are if we're not talking with each other? And how can we talk with each other if our phones are in our hands? He says, quote, families are also blessed as they worship together in church services and in other devotional settings. Family bonds are also strengthened by family stories. This is what I'm like, ooh. Family stories, creating family traditions, and sharing sacred experiences. He quotes President Kimball, who said, quote, stories of inspiration from our own lives and those of our forebears are powerful teaching tools. And then President Oaks said, they are often the best sources of inspiration for us and our posterity, end quote. And so here's what I'm going to be doing for the channel. And I'm so excited because I've led these conferences before, or I've helped people do this in so many different realms or levels for putting together these family stories in ways that become powerful teaching tools. And so I am preparing several things for the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. And then you have to go in, once you've subscribed, you have to set your notifications to all so that you actually get notified when every episode drops. So make sure you set your notifications to all. But I am so excited because I have several things that I'm working on, and oh my goodness, should I even just say one? Talking about family stories, and no, I'm just going to keep it a secret. Anyways, I'm going to be putting this together because we have promises for us. Just in summary, we have been ordained. That means we have been formally established by God Himself, destined for something, to quote this definition of being ordained. As I think about this father trying to rescue his daughter, but the pair being swept out together to sea in the ocean with the father holding his daughter's hand, we have no idea how long our days are on the earth. What we do know, coming back to President Oaks and his address, The Family-Centered Gospel of Jesus Christ, is that we are under, as families, an all fronts assault, so stiff, so strong, just like that storm in Florida, where we can't sometimes see just how bad the storm is. We only see what's ahead of us, what's right in front of us. That our prophet, for the very first address that he gives from the pulpit, is having to help us understand how bad it is, that he's needing to remind us that we need to be teaching even practical skills. Okay, so as we move into the future, we know that Jesus Christ is coming. We know the onslaught, the assault will be even stiffer, but together we can raise the knowledge of Jesus Christ and the joy of the gospel and the joy of families to all we see as we listen and hear the Holy Spirit guiding us. And in the next few episodes, I'm going to be sharing some really cool, fun, practical ways with downloadables, etc., that you'll be able to use for your family. Why? Because there is so much joy in living the way that Christ asks us to live and how we're being taught through the prophet and Jesus's servants. Okay, that's all for today. I love you. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. And if I might just share one sweet experience, I save these moments for the end of the episode if I ever feel impressed to share them, because I know that I'm sharing them with you, my friends. I know sometimes people, because of their busy lives, they'll listen to the first part of an episode and then they feel fed or that's sufficient. But when something is very, very sacred to me, yet I feel that I can share it on the channel, I save it for the end because I want to share it with my friends here at the channel who can truly value it. As you know, I had sustained an injury back in the middle of July, and it's been 4 months of being upside down in the impact of that. And I have been in recovery and seeking to become stronger and stronger and seeking to be able to do more and more. And it's why I had to stop the channel for a time, as you know. The day after the injury, I received a blessing of health in which I was told that for a time I would not be able to do the things I was used to doing, but that it would be temporary and there were blessings promised. But it had been 3 months or so and things were still just so slow and so sluggish in repairing and just getting everything back to what, and I'm still improving and not quite yet there. So I had decided that I was going to fast for 4 Sundays in a row, petitioning the Lord and expressing that I wanted to co-create with him this healing that I had been promised, but that was being slow or delayed or whatever it might be. And so I just wanted to share the sweet tenderness of Heavenly Father, because the last 2 Sundays I had fasted, and I had fasted with specifics for the first Sunday and then fasted with specifics, different area of healing for second Sunday, because there have been a variety of ways this injury impacted me. And yesterday I was preparing to fast for today, for the 3rd Sunday. And I had the sweetest feeling of the Spirit saying, it is enough, Cindy. It is enough. And I just wanted to share my witness that God sees our efforts. He sees your efforts. He loves you. He knows you. He knows your sorrows. He knows your heart. He knows your righteous desires. He is sending, as we read in Doctrine and Covenants 1:11:11, blessings as fast as we are all able to receive them. And sometimes in the gap, while we wait, can be some of our biggest stretching moments. And sometimes those efforts that we are seeking to put forth, God asks nothing more. And so it is my prayer for you, my friend, as you're listening, that you can know God loves you. He hears you. He sees your masterful efforts. And in the right time and in the right way, he will say, it is enough. You will be blessed for the good that you are doing. He hears you. He has sent his son to carry you. You are never alone. For we know from President Holland and from the scriptures that we have angels round about us, both of the earthly kind, sometimes unseen, and of those sent from God's presence. So that's just my witness and my testimony for you that God is merciful. And when we trust in him and we just wait on his hand, seeking to be as active as we can during the waiting time, when we finally hear those words, it is enough, we will rejoice in God's wisdom, in his timing, and in everything that he did for us while we had to wait. I love you, and I pray for you, and I'll see you at the next episode. Bye-bye.